We're here again with Daniel Messina, my dear colleague and friend from Brazil, and now here in Raleigh, who leads our young adults, and Randy Bertram, who's been a long time. Were you a founding member at Crossroads? Almost. He's been here longer than I can remember, and has been an elder and a lay leader, and they've had this wonderful relationship for 4 years. You've already probably seen some of the videos. Randy, we wanted to close on one that I think can be really instructive to our listeners, and that is an issue that you saw in Daniel's life and how you guys navigated that for, actually it took a while, but it's proven now. We look back and say, wow, this was a great thing to do. Can you tell us what was happening and what you did to intervene there?
Sure. Daniel had just started as our pastor for young adults, and he was actually young singles at the time, I believe. And he was starting a small group Bible study in one of their homes. And, Daniel being Daniel, of course, it went very, very well. Lots of people started coming, and people were excited about it. And Daniel was leading this small group, and it grew. And it grew, and it grew. As
Stretching the boundaries of what small is?
Yes, it stretched the boundaries of what small is, and this is typical with Daniel. We had like 30 people cramming into a home, and it couldn't really grow anymore, and it wasn't really functioning as a small group anymore either. People weren't keeping track of each other and relating in one-on-one relationships, and it wasn't what our vision is for small groups. We at Crossroads, we're a small group church. We like to have small groups, 8 to 12 people. They grow beyond that, and then we divide them into multiple groups, and then they keep growing from there. It's never fun to divide a group. Everyone struggles with that, and yet if you don't do it, you're effectively saying to another 30 people who are out there, no, you can't come to the Lord through this group. It's just for us, and that's not the heart of Jesus.
So growing takes a certain amount of pain that leaders have to be willing to lean into.
That's exactly correct. And so I began talking with Daniel over a period of months about what we needed to do about this. That obviously he could lead a great small group himself. We needed other people who could lead small groups. We needed to break this into 2, 4, 6 groups, and boy, that's a tough thing for a gifted pastor to grow into, to start operating through other people instead of doing it yourself. And so Daniel, as always, was very teachable and began learning how to do that. But nothing happened overnight, and it was a slow process. Today, the young adults ministry is a great example of small group vitality in Crossroads. Daniel has built out a system of many small groups, both singles and marrieds. So he got the lesson, and once he turned that corner, another year down the road, all of a sudden he was the example the elders were talking about of here's how you do small groups.
Daniel, that's a great story, and being a small group guy myself, I can totally relate to the excitement, the pain, the frustration, the challenge. Tell me what it was like for you. You got this thriving thing happening in your home, but you got people banging at the door every week who just came in. I heard you have a great young adult ministry, and there's no place for them.
Yeah, it was interesting because when I first got to Crossroads, I was appalled that we didn't have any young adult small groups. I was like, what is going on? And small groups has always been a passion of mine. So we actually got to a point at, I think, 2013, where and Randy said 32 people. That was on a low day. We actually went from 12 to 50. We at one point had 50 people in my house, and I live in a really small house, so it was crazy. But I think part of it was I didn't know how to deal with the growth, and Randy helped me deal with that. Part of it was as well, we didn't have leaders, and if you're a pastor out there, we need leaders. So I think it was a slow process, as Randy said. It was a process of learning, but at the same time also passing on the baton to somebody else to lead, and not just somebody else, somebody else, like a lot of
developing some eyes. I know Randy's a former small group leader, has multiplied a number of groups, so you had to develop some vision and see what was there that you just had not developed the vision to see, but you did develop it and started tapping shoulders and finding people you could invest and trust in.
Absolutely, and a lot of it was just me being comfortable with this ministry is not led by me. It should be led by the young adults themselves. It should be led by also people who are over the young adults, protecting them. So what we've done within our ministry is we have what's called a DCLA structure: a director, coach, leader, and then an apprentice. Now we have 12 different coaches that are over our leaders, our small group leaders. So I'm actually not even over all of my leaders, because I have other leaders that are fulfilling that role. And it's very healthy, and people that have the same passion that Randy does for our young adults, meet with them on a regular basis, do the same thing that Randy does with me. So what actually happens is we're making disciples. We're following the process that Christ set for multiplication. And just one caveat was, I remember when we were trying to figure out what to do with this large group and make it into smaller groups, I was seeing the aspect of the people, and the young adults were coming to me and saying, we don't want to do this. So I'm like, what do I do then? And I think we had to also be careful with our language. So Randy used the word divided and split, and that's exactly how they felt. What we actually did was, instead of doing that, let's use the word multiply. Let's multiply our small groups so that other people can enter our community and then be part of that. So we went from 50 to now we have 80 young adults, single adults in small groups, and then we went from 4 or 5 young couple small groups to now 12. So, and that has been a process of just saying, hey, let's multiply.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because many of my friends that I know and I'm preparing these talks for are in what I would call a Noikos type church. The church is a single cell. It's who the pastor can put his wings around, 50, 80, maybe 100 people. And right there are other leaders, other elders, other teachers. But because we have a one guy has to do everything mindset, we never explode past the 100 barrier or maybe the 50 barrier. Mm-hmm. And this is an example in a church like Crossroads. We're really just like many little fellowships under one banner. Christianity at its best is a movement. And you really both have talked about the value of a healthy relationship, elder-pastor, and a vision. In a previous video, you talked about guarding the vision of the church. And here was a good thing happening, but it was kind of choking off the vision. And you intervened over a period of time and learned the language, the technology, the ability to see how to multiply. And now it's happening. Mm. The encouragement is that if you're watching this today and you can identify with Daniel, you can also identify with Daniel and learn to multiply. And there's some other areas on our training site to help you with that. But I want to thank you guys for being vulnerable. This isn't common for pastors and elders sometimes to reveal our relationship, how it works, and we have a healthy system here at Crossroads that we want to share, and also that there's a vulnerability that it requires for us to hear from the Lord and be able to speak in each other's life. Very important rule of leadership, particularly to be transformative. And Randy, I want to thank you just as a pastor here for, I love seeing you and other elders out in the body, knowing your life, your testimony, your witness over many years, knowing how you work with us pastors. It gives me confidence, and you know, I'm a mover and shaker here, but I don't feel alone. I feel protected. I feel I can be me, and you guys will clip my wings if I need it, pull me back, or push me forward, or direct me. And that has given me freedom to not throttle myself, but also to pace myself and to trust your decision making. I'll close with this one example from my own life. We have a thrift store here at Crossroads in the missions department that grew out of a yard sale that had really gotten out of control. It was becoming more difficult than blessing. And we had for some time thought maybe we should do a thrift store. We started on that idea. We prayed. We put a team together from the Missions Council with some elders. We prayed about it for a year. We made a proposal after doing a lot of due diligence. I visited a dozen Christian thrift stores in 2 states. So we had a great proposal. We really did our homework. And the elders said no. And we were like, you got to be kidding me. You guys knew I was like, you got to be kidding me. And yet what happened somewhere between that no, we went back and scratched our head and said, hey, we trust God to lead us through the elders. So we were we took by faith what didn't feel emotionally right. And somewhere in the afterflow of that, the elder said, but we would like you to consider doing it in the building. We had thought we would go out, lease a building. It was right during the heart of the recession. And so the long story short is we are thriving today with a 5-day-a-week thrift store, making more than we probably thought possible with pretty low risk because we're not hooked on a expensive property somewhere. So that no ended up becoming a different yes than we would have presumed to ask. And so now we're using facility that was otherwise sort of not used, raising money to send people like Daniel and his young adults around the world to try to bless pastors and leaders like you. So I just want to affirm that we're not a perfect church or a perfect leadership, but we have healthy boundaries and principles that guide us. And as a result, there's sort of some self-correction individually and corporately that allow us to be healthy as we're outwardly focused. And we hope that we can share those values and principles with you, both in this video and others. Thanks, guys, for sharing your heart in this journey, okay?